Give the proof.
Shawn Trulilo accuses Meredith Marks of using her son Brooks after gay rumors. Proof, biatch!
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 5, Episode 9. And before we get into it, please let the record show that ever since we were introduced to Bronwyn's husband, Todd, I always had a bit of skepticism towards their marriage. A lot of y'all tried to fight me in the comments saying, oh, Brooke, you're being too hard on them, and Todd is a man of few words, and I like their marriage. They're just fine. They're not like Tom and Erica at all. There's no comparison. And after this episode, I do feel a bit vindicated because I don't see the love in their marriage whatsoever. It's low-key giving. Bronwyn came on this show to secure the bag on her own. And Andy Cohen has famously said that 9 times out of 10, these women come on these shows knowing that their marriages are on the rocks, and they're using this show as leverage to gain financial independence, fame, and to secure their own bags. And with Bronwyn and Todd, that's what it's giving. But we're going to talk about that later on. Now, Miss Lisa Barlow, I have to whack you several good times because this loyalty to Heather makes absolutely no sense. And I think that it is completely wrong of you to not want to hear Bronwyn out. I don't understand why you're taking Heather's word at face value, knowing that she lies. And Meredith and Seth, that display at the dinner table, I said, no, ma'am. And I was so happy that Angie's husband, Shawn, got you guys both together. He stood on business and said, no, I will not apologize because I did nothing wrong. But without further ado, let's just get right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we open up this episode right where we left off last week with John informing Lisa that Todd told him that he wants them both out because Lisa cannot get her act together. So John's like, let's go outside and talk because I don't want anybody else eavesdropping. So they go outside. Lisa is visibly rattled. She's crying and she's like, I just don't understand what happened. I just don't get it. So John says, yeah, I'm confused as to what happened too because it looked like you guys were all having a great time in the hot tub and then all of a sudden things went left. So then he goes on to say that he's not used to seeing Lisa and Bronwyn on the outs because they've always been close before. And I'm going to talk about this more later on, but I've noticed that when it comes to John standing by Lisa, while I love to see it, I love to see a man have his woman's back, it is a bit troubling because John also feels like nothing that Lisa does is ever her fault. And that's another reason why Lisa behaves like a victim because you're over there blowing smoke up her ass saying that she's always right when she's not. So now Lisa says that the real reason why she's having issues with Bronwyn and Angie K is because of Whitney. And I said, Lisa, once again, you're wrong. The real common enemy is Heather. Heather is the common denominator as to why you're having issues with both Angie and Bronwyn because you have Heather lying on both ladies. Heather's running her mouth to you saying that Angie was mom shaming you when she wasn't. And then she's lying to you about how things went down between her and Bronwyn and then planting seeds in your head saying that Bronwyn is two-faced. So you're blaming the wrong person. The person in the middle is Heather. And this newfound loyalty to Heather is weird because let's be so for real, Lisa, you never saw it for Heather. Now all of a sudden that's your girl and you're standing 10 toes down? Like, it's weird. And it's feeling like you guys all made a pact because, again, this pea-brain logic to defend each other and not hear the others out is a bit weird. So now John throws out a suggestion and he says, at the end of the day, I think that you and Bronwyn need to have a conversation, just you two, private, one-on-one, with nobody else there. And Lisa agrees and says that she wants that too. So it's time for a nice lunch outside. The table set up beautifully. The spread looks amazing. You guys already know that my mouth was watering when that food came out. So everybody's eating and the vibes are off. Everybody's super tense, nobody's speaking, and now Lisa breaks the silence and addresses Bronwyn. Now I said, Lisa, just 5 minutes ago, John told you have a private conversation with Bronwyn, just you guys, nobody else, and you agreed. So why on God's green earth are you gonna talk about this in front of the group at the table? Does that make sense? And I wish John would have tapped you on the shoulder and said, hey, hon, don't have this conversation here, have it somewhere else. Todd had already threatened to kick you guys both out, so I don't think that it was a good idea on your part to address Bronwyn in front of everybody. Like, again, I don't understand it. I don't know why Lisa couldn't just follow simple instructions and pull Bronwyn to the side. So Lisa starts it off by saying, Bronwyn, my whole point was Heather was just expressing to me her feelings about the situation that she's in with you, and it's kind of hard to talk about somebody else's feelings. That's all I was trying to say. So Bronwyn's just listening. She's annoyed, and I would be annoyed too, because when it comes to Lisa, the double standards are glaring, because we all know that if the tables were turned, she'd be demanding Bronwyn to be loyal to her and understand where she's coming from. So anyhow, Lisa reiterates that those were Heather's feelings and it's different than somebody saying that you're lying. So of course, she's now addressing Whitney, calling her a liar and accusing her of being behind the rumors about Whitney's jewelry being from Alibaba. And of course, Lisa just starts another argument because now Whitney jumps in and she says, Lisa, I wasn't lying on you. I was telling you the information that was told to me. And Lisa says, no, you didn't. You accused me and you said that you had proof and then I asked you to see the proof. So forget all about Bronwyn and her issues with Lisa. Now the focus is on Whitney and Lisa. So as they're going back and forth, Whitney's like, Lisa, girl, you were sitting up there screaming, cursing, yelling. You ran up on my husband, talking crazy to him, and you tried to incite a whole bunch of mess. So Lisa says, your husband, Justin, is a grown man. And by the way, John would never speak to a woman the way your husband spoke to me. So as they're going back and forth, Lisa says that Justin said the F word to her 3 times. And Justin had me screaming. The way he turned around, he was like, I didn't say that to you. Like, what did I say? Because it wasn't that. And I said, no, Lisa, you can't help yourself. You need to put extra sauce on the story. You know good and damn well he didn't say all that. He just said, don't call my wife an effing liar. That was it. He cursed 1 time. And I was really on the floor because at one point Justin says, she's crazy. So as Lisa, Justin, and Whitney are going at it, Todd is sitting there. He's about to get up and go. He's like, I'm going to sit in another room. I'm tired of this. So Bron was like, babe, just stay here. Stay by my side. Please don't leave. Now, Todd, if you're this big boss, why didn't you put your foot down and say, hey, if y'all want to do all this, do it over there, but let the rest of us enjoy our lunch? I was waiting for him to say that. So now Lisa's asking Whitney about the proof. She wants to see it. And then she says, there's more proof in my tequila. I said, girl, how long did it take you to come up with that? Now we cut to John in a confessional, and he says that it feels like it's nonstop, where everybody always comes for his wife. And he's like, whose turn is it now to come for Lisa? And I just said, John, while I love how much you adore your wife, I need you to take off the rose-colored glasses and realize that your wife is at fault. She's not the victim. It's not always everybody else. Sometimes your wife does start stuff. Now, when it comes to this whole thing about Whitney accusing her of talking badly about her jewelry line, I don't believe that. I believe that Whitney's lying, but the other issues, that's Lisa. And I don't understand how you don't see that. So John's officially tired of his wife going at it with Whitney. And he's like, Whitney, full stop. Just ask my wife if she did it. So Whitney's like, Lisa, did you do it? Lisa says no. And John says, great, it's finished, it's settled. And then he goes on to ask Whitney if she ever lied about Lisa. So Whitney says, no, I've never lied on Lisa. I might have thrown some shade when I was angry at her, but I've never lied. So John's like, great, we're done, we're good. And my wife has never lied on anybody at this table. And I said, now come again, sir. We saw how she lied and was talking badly about her best friend Meredith in season 2, that hot mic moment. So let's not say all that now. And one thing about it, Shawn does not play about Angie either, because he turns to Angie and he says, no, wait, didn't she tell somebody that you're a bitch? And Angie says, yeah, she said it to my face in Milwaukee. So now Shawn turns to Lisa and he's like, now Lisa, I've been privy to a whole bunch of conversations that you've had with my wife, and you've talked to her so horribly, it's pretty much abusive. So Lisa's like, well, that's the way I talk, and if I've made you feel a certain way, then I'm sorry for that. I said one thing about Lisa, she's gonna give you a half-assed apology with an if or a but in there. So now we see Lisa's confessional, and she says, I'm not abusive to Angie, and I don't even understand why her husband is talking to me at all. He needs to be happy that I can even see him across the table. I said, girl, don't be upset that another husband is checking you on your behavior. The same way that John jumped in during your argument with Whitney just now, Shawn has every right to jump in too. And I don't think that Shawn was disrespectful for saying, hey, I don't like the way you treat my wife. I don't like the way you've talked to her in the past. It needs to stop. He was respectful. He didn't curse, didn't raise his voice. He was calm and measured. So I was here for it. Now, this next scene back in Salt Lake City with Mary was troubling. It was heartbreaking. And I'm not even going to hold you. Production could have kept this out. We're at Mary's house. She goes upstairs to check on her son, Rob Jr., and his wife. Child, Rob Jr. and his wife/girlfriend are in that bed. It's like the middle of the afternoon, chomping down on some donuts. Mary was visibly upset, but she's like, hey guys, how are you? Have you cleaned up your room? The room does not look clean at all. I'm thinking eating in bed, that's how you attract rodents and bugs. And I'm imagining all those crumbs all over the sheets and the comforter. I'm like, my God, you see these dirty water bottles. One of y'all pointed out that there was an air fryer in his room. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is chaotic. It's clear that Robert Jr. and his girlfriend were high. But Mary's asking them what their plans are for the day. She's like, have you showered? Have you brushed your teeth? Are you going to get up and do something? And I'm just like, Mary, tell these cameras to get out. We don't need to see this. This is really sad. This is a personal moment. This is a very sad moment. It's clear that neither one of them are well. They're zoned out as she's talking. I just said, I felt bad watching this. And it was really sad when Mary said to them, I feel like I'm talking to two little babies who aren't prepared to make it in this world. And the way they just sat there and stared, I said, oh my gosh. And a quick question, where are the girlfriend's parents? Are they not concerned about their daughter? Does she ever see them? Does she ever go home? I'm so curious about that backstory. Somebody let me know down below, but I just said, yeah, where's her family? Are they not concerned about her welfare and her well-being? Like, she's just staying with Mary and Rob like this? It's crazy. But I'm sending my prayers to Mary and her son. I hope that things turn around. I know that it was reported a few weeks ago that her son was in rehab, so I'm just praying that he's able to get clean and really turn his life around because he's so young, and to see somebody in that state at that age, that's very sad. So prayers to Mary and her son and the son's girlfriend/wife, and I really hope that they get the help that they need. But this scene was too much. I don't feel like we should have seen that. So we're back in Palm Springs, and now everybody's getting ready for the evening. So Bronwyn and Todd are having this huge party outside for their anniversary. And I mean, they did it up big. They have the floral arrangements, a mariachi band's there, an open bar. I mean, they spared no expense. So anyhow, we see Bronwyn and Todd in their room, and Todd is putting on the 170 carat diamond necklace on Bronwyn's neck. That's her anniversary present, and she's ecstatic. Now, that diamond necklace was to die for. Absolutely stunning.
Bling, bling, bling. Bitches is mad.
But I would be remiss to not point out the lack of affection when Todd put that diamond necklace around her neck. Because Bronwyn says, oh my gosh, it's just too pretty, isn't it? And Todd's like, yeah, like it's really nice. So she says, happy anniversary, honey. And she's trying to kiss him. And he just walks away. I said, excuse me? And I just want to stop right here and point this out now. But all throughout this episode, I noticed the lack of physical touch between them. There's no affection, no intimacy. And I don't understand how anybody could think that that's okay. I think, you know what it is? I grew up seeing my parents being very affectionate. I saw them kiss each other, cute little pat on the butt. Like, I saw that. So I couldn't imagine being married to somebody and they're not affectionate. No, sir. I need to be touched. I want to hear all that, hey, sexy, hey, beautiful. Like, if it's not giving that, then I'll pass. And I'm so sorry, but their marriage looks dry as hell. And the fact that he put that gorgeous $4 million necklace around her neck and there was no kiss or no hug, or that's weird to me. And I don't want to hear anything about, oh, all marriages are different and you wouldn't understand, you're not married. No, I may not be married, but I do have common sense and I know what a healthy marriage looks like, and their marriage does not look healthy in the least bit. Y'all are not going to sit up here and play in my face and tell me that I'm crazy. There's something wrong in that marriage. And I've seen some age gap marriages and the older man was all over his young wife. So that right there is blowing me that you have this old man who's almost 70 years old. His wife is what, 38, 39? And there's no touching? Like, he should be all over her. He should be hoping that she wants to touch him. Like, I don't know. It's weird. I'm not buying what they're trying to sell me. There's something off. So the party's officially started. Everybody's outside mingling. Todd and Bronwyn have their other friends there. And when I tell you I was screaming at one point because Todd obviously forgot that he was mic'd, because he's over there telling his other friends about John and Lisa's tequila business, Vita Tequila. So he's like, oh yeah, those folks right there, they own tequila and it's pretty mediocre. I said, ooh. I said, Todd, that's that kind of shade that you say off camera, not on camera. Now, Lisa, while you tap dance on my last good nerve every now and again, I can always give you your 10s because I've had Vita Tequila at several of the Bravo events and your tequila is good. So for him to say that it's just mediocre, I'm like, okay, Todd, you don't have to hate. Now, I feel like a few people were a bit underdressed. I don't know what Seth was wearing. You looked like you were going to play golf on a Sunday afternoon. You were very casual. And I thought it was funny how Angie and Whitney pointed out that you were wearing your Brooks Marks hat. They were like, why is he wearing that? I said, I'm happy that you're repping for your son, but that cap did not go with this event. You were very casual. It just made no sense to me. And Lisa was also underdressed. And Lisa, I'm surprised because any other time you normally rise to the occasion, but you were very casual for Bronwyn and Todd's anniversary party. So now it's time for them to sit down for dinner. And Justin is complimenting Bronwyn on her necklace. He's like, Bronwyn, I have to say, that necklace is stunning. And now Angie jumps in and she jokes around that Todd has another 10 years with Bronwyn because of that necklace. So now Bronwyn laughs and says, oh yeah, Brittany wasn't wrong. And I said, oh, so now you want to give props to Brittany. And that's why when that whole argument went down, I wasn't mad at Brittany because those were valid questions. Now, Bronwyn, there's always a bit of truth behind these jokes. And the jokes that you were saying were a bit telling. And the fact that you wouldn't stop, I just say, yeah, there's something wrong. So Bronwyn says, well, actually, I'm not willing to do anything to stay with Todd. It's not like I offered him a lifetime supply of blowjobs. And Angie's like, well, girl, with that necklace, you might have to give a few. And then Whitney jumps in saying, yeah, one goes a long way. And then Bronwyn says, well, I'm lucky because Todd travels a lot anyway. And I said, girl, what does that mean? It's giving you don't want that man on top of you. That's what it's giving. Those jokes that couples do about how sex is non-existent or they don't want to do X, Y, and Z for their partner, it's a bit telling. And you can't convince me otherwise. So now dinner is served. The food looks absolutely amazing. And yes, my mouth was watering during this scene. So as they're enjoying their meals, somebody points out how chilly it is outside. And Bronwyn says, yeah, I know, it's beautiful here, but it's also miserable. So then she says, just like our marriage, beautiful yet miserable. So I said, again, Who jokes like that? Why would you joke that your marriage is miserable? Words are very powerful. I really believe that if you speak certain things, you're going to see certain things in your life. And for her to say that her marriage is miserable, even as a joke, absolutely not. And that's why I hate when people say, oh my gosh, marriage is so hard. I'm like, girl, even though I'm not married, if the day comes, I'm not claiming that. I'm claiming that my future marriage will be easy as anything, and I don't claim that. I'm not claiming any hardship, or I'm just not. Call it delusional, I don't really care. But as for me, I'm not claiming anything bad. And the fact that she would say that is quite alarming. And nobody else at the table laughed. It was real awkward, like, girl, why would you say that? And Meredith clocked it because she even said in her confessional that although she's just getting to know Bronwyn and Todd, there does seem to be a bit of tension in their marriage because the jokes are weird. There's no affection. They both seem to be a bit dry with each other. So now Bronwyn says, well, I actually adore Todd, but I don't want to bore him with all the reasons why I love him. So Bronwyn says, well, first off, every time he whips out his black card, I like him a bit more. So Todd whips out his Black American Express. He shows it to the table. And I said, really? But you were mad at how Brittany asked you, oh, do you actually like your husband? Are you attracted to that man, or is it just because of the money? So now Bronwyn says, I'm just joking. We have tons of fun together. I said, oh, really, you do? Because I haven't seen it yet. And let me just stop for a minute. I feel like men should be talking about how much they adore their wife first. I was waiting for Todd to say, I love Bronwyn because she's beautiful, she's funny, she lights up my world, I'm happy that she's in my life, I love her daughter. Like, I was waiting for that, and it never came. This was a very strange interaction. Todd at no point took Bronwyn's hand. He's sitting there with his arms folded, and I just said, what is going on? Listen, I love a man with a few coins in his pocket, just like everybody else. But there are some things that I'm not willing to sacrifice just to be with somebody with money. I feel like you can have it all, and I don't care what the naysayers say, but personally for me, I don't believe that you have to sacrifice love, affection, and attraction just for some money. I'm just saying, y'all, this dynamic between her and Todd is not it. And you can say what you want about me in those comments, that's fine. I'm prepared to tussle, but I said what I said. So here's where things get really fun and juicy, and they actually have a good time for a few minutes. Angie comes out with this game called the Not So Newlywed Game, and she's asking them all some cute questions. So the first question is, who says I'm sorry first? I think John and Lisa both said Lisa. I think Shawn and Angie both said Shawn. I forgot what Whitney and Justin said. And then Todd and Bronwyn both said Bronwyn. Now that right there is alarming, because what do you mean that Bronwyn is the first one to apologize when you guys get into it? It's giving that Bronwyn is always walking on eggshells in that marriage. So now Angie K goes on to ask the next question, and it's, what's your husband's favorite sexual position? So you have Lisa getting all shy, and I've noticed that Lisa is very prude about sex. She's like, oh my gosh, like, I don't want to answer this. It's too personal, oh my gosh. So they answer, and Lisa gave this very generic answer saying all of them. John was specific, honey. He put all their business on blast. He was like, oh, I like it when she's on top and she's bouncing on it. I said, okay, John. Meredith and Seth gave some boring answers saying all of them, and I said, now y'all don't even see each other, so all right. Now Whitney and Justin, they put all their business out. I think Justin said when Whitney's on top, and then Whitney said, oh no honey, here are his top 3. When I'm on top, reverse cowgirl, and I think she said something else, and even Justin was taken aback because he was like, well, I had no idea that we were getting so personal. Then it's Angie and Shawn's turn. I think Angie said from behind, and then Shawn said reverse cowgirl too. And then for Todd and Bronwyn, they both said all of them. Now, Bronwyn, I have not even seen that man kiss you, hold your hand, snuggle up next to you. He's very short-tempered with you, so I highly doubt that you guys are doing anything. The last time you guys did something was maybe 5 years ago, if I had to guess. Maybe I'm being petty, but I don't see any chemistry between them, especially in that area. So here's where things get messy. Angie goes on to ask the last question, who does your wife like the least out of this group? So you already know that it's about to be a mess. Lisa holds up her board and she writes Whitney. Now we all knew that. John's like, oh, I couldn't think about anybody, so his is blank. He's trying to be respectful and diplomatic. When I tell you that Justin was good and petty, he had Lisa's name up there in all caps. I was screaming. Angie and Shawn both write Meredith's name, and Meredith is annoyed because Shawn spelled her name wrong. She's like, hey, if you want to be so obsessed with me, at least get my name right. So now we see Bronwyn hold her board up and she wrote Lisa's name because obviously she's annoyed that Lisa is taking Heather's side. Now here's where I was a bit confused because Whitney wrote Meredith's name too, and I said, but you have all this smoke for Lisa, and I thought that you and Meredith were good, so what changed? But anyhow, Whitney addresses Lisa, and she says, Lisa, I have to ask you, do you still feel like Justin owes you an apology? So Lisa says, yes, I do, because I didn't charge at Justin. I wasn't aggressive towards him. I was just frustrated because you lied on me, that's it. So you can tell that Justin is over all this drama because he says, look, Lisa, you came at me directly saying that my wife was a liar. I know my wife isn't a liar. And because of that, my reaction to you was a bit stronger than it would have been. And then he goes on to say that he apologizes for how he reacted. So Lisa thanks Justin for the apology, and then she goes on to apologize to Justin as well for bringing him in it in the first place. But for the time being, Lisa and Whitney are good for right now. And now Meredith jumps in and says, well, that was sweet, but I have a bone to pick with Shawn. So she turns to Shawn and she says, now Shawn, I thought that you and I had a great conversation a few weeks ago at your anniversary party, but I walked away feeling hurt because I didn't receive an apology about you talking about my son. One thing about it, Shawn stands 10 toes down in what he said. He said what he said and it's not changing, and I respect that. And I was here for Shawn, and no offense, Meredith, but Shawn ate you and Seth right on up. Because I'm so sorry, sis, but your argument has no weight. So Shawn says, well, here's the thing, Meredith. One of my biggest pet peeves is that I thought that you and I walked away in a great space. We had a great conversation. I thought we were good. And now for you to tell me weeks later that we're not good and you're still mad, I'm really pissed off about that. I said, please whack her again.
I'm gonna just scoot on over and let you whack him. Get him again. Get him for me.
I'm sorry, Meredith, but you're reaching. So Meredith says, I just want an apology for talking about my son. So Shawn says, oh, really? Well, let's revisit what I actually said because I did not speak about your son. I said, ooh. I said, Shawn is not to be played with. So Shawn is pressing Meredith to find the proof. What did he say bad about Brooks? So Meredith is stuttering and she says, well, I can pull it up for you later. I said, girl, no. You guys all have your phones out with you. Pull it up. You keep claiming that he said something bad about your son, so let's pull up the proof. And I can't stand this game of semantics that these housewives love to play. Because somebody mentioning your child's name does not mean that they're talking about your child. And also, if your kid wants to step into the drama, then they can't be upset if somebody on your cast claps back. And Brooks is not a child. He's a grown adult. He's 24, 25 years old. So Shawn and Meredith are going back and forth because Shawn keeps saying, well, show me the proof. What did I say about your son? So now Whitney jumps in and says, Meredith, where's the proof? So Seth is on his phone and he reads this blog article where the headline says, Shawn Trujillo is accusing Meredith Marks of using her son as a way to deflect from the gay rumors. Can somebody point me to where Shawn spoke badly about Brooks? That's not talking badly about Brooks at all. And everybody at the table was confused because that's BS and Meredith and Seth know that. So now Seth turns his phone around and he says to Whitney, proof, biatch. So they're all like, wait, what? Whitney's like, excuse me right now?
Show me your proof.
It's enough. Seth. I gotta zip up my energy real tight right now because it is taking everything I have to not leap across this table and beat the shit out of this man.
Now I said, Justin, if there were ever a time to really rise up and defend your wife, the time is now. And Meredith, let me just whack you quickly. Because on the after show, you made 11 excuses defending Seth's behavior. You were talking about, oh, he didn't curse at her. He didn't call her out her name. He said biatch. It's a funny word. That's not bitch. I said, Meredith, what we won't do is sit up here and lie. You know good and damn well that your husband was out of order to call Whitney a biatch because she asked for proof. Had Justin or John or Todd or Shawn called you a biatch, you'd be screaming and hollering about that from now until the day the show goes off the air. And if Justin had punched your husband, he would have been well within his right. That was not cool. And if I were Whitney, I would have cursed Seth out for that. So now Angie jumps in to defend her man and she says, what is this article? What is this title? It's giving clickbait. Can you please tell us what the comment was? And now Shawn jumps right back in and he says, look, I can't give you an apology if I don't mean it. I know I didn't say anything bad about your son. And if I did do that, I would apologize. But in this case, I didn't. So now Shawn calls out Meredith for trying to victimize herself again and make this all about her. And Meredith says, no, I'm not doing that. And Shawn says, girl, yes, you are. So Meredith is like, well, okay then. And then she goes on to say in her confessional that obviously Angie and Shawn don't think they've done anything wrong and she's over it. I said, well, girl, they feel like that because they did not do anything wrong. Shawn did not talk about your son. Mentioning his name is not talking about him. So Angie's over all of this. She's not trying to go back and forth with Meredith and Seth. So she says, in lighter news, let's discuss how Gwen is reconnecting with her grandparents, and Todd shuts that down immediately. So Bronwyn is really upset and she's like, yeah, Angie, that's not a great topic. There's a lot of heartache there. Let's just not do that. So Bronwyn is embarrassed because Todd's angry because he feels strongly about Gwen and the whole grandparent situation. Bronwyn's trying to explain what happened, how Lisa's in the middle. She's friends with her baby daddy's family, despite them being horrible people and deadbeats to her daughter, Gwen. So as Bronwyn's trying to explain it, Todd's like, we're done here. We're not talking about this. We're done. Like, just stop. And the way he's talking to Bronwyn, I thought it was unsettling. And Bronwyn does acknowledge that her and Todd approach being angry in different ways. And it pretty much means that she's walking on eggshells and he calls all the shots. That's what that means. Because the way she sat there, she was sitting there like she was his child or something. I said, what is this? And the fact that he was so cold about it, like, okay, I understand that it's a touchy subject, but don't snap at your wife saying, we're done, we're done. Like, excuse me? That's your wife. That's your equal. And even Bronwyn said, I was worried about these women embarrassing me, but Todd's the one who's doing that. And I said, again, girl, you don't look happy in this marriage. And Miss Bronwyn, you don't have a prenup. So do what you have to do. Honestly, I'd be saying shout out to everybody. I have fun.
Oh! Shout out to everybody. I have fun. I gotta be good.
But dinner is over and now it's the next morning and Whitney says that she woke up with a slight hangover, but she does say that they had a lot of fun after dinner. So we see the clips. They were in the hot tub together, then they were playing pool, then they were joking around, being silly. So it does look like the evening was salvaged and the women were able to have a good time. And they also watched fireworks. Now, another observation. Did y'all notice that when they watched fireworks together, Todd is standing behind her with his arms folded? I said,
no.
But anyhow, the group arrives to the Indy racetrack and they get to meet one of the race car drivers. I think his name was Joseph. I don't know what his last name was, but Bronwyn says that it's special to them because the Indy racetrack was one of their first dates. And they're really good friends with one of the other race car drivers, so he pulled some strings to get them there today. So they're meeting the race car driver, Joseph. He's really cute. Seth is asking if he's single, and he says, no, I'm not. I'm married, and I have a 3-year-old son. So then Seth says, oh, I'm sorry, Heather. And I said, okay, Seth. But we see them in the suite watching the race cars, and it was so funny because Bronwyn was trying to have a conversation with Lisa about their issues, but they can't even hear each other because it's so loud. So anyhow, they're back at the house and everybody's packing up to leave. And we see Angie and Shawn by the pool, and they're talking about the drama between them and the Marks. So now we see Justin and Whitney come over to join them, and they're also talking about Seth's behavior at the table. And Whitney's like, for him to call us biatches like that, like that's not cool. Whitney goes on to say that she's so sick and tired of Meredith and Seth holding on to grudges. And then Angie says, yeah, I know. I feel like I'm always the one extending an olive branch, and where is that getting me? So before the group heads back home, Lisa and Bronwyn have a one-on-one conversation at the pool. And here's where things get a bit heated, because Lisa is just refusing to see Bronwyn's side of things, even though Bronwyn is in the right. So Bronwyn says, look, Lisa, I feel like things have been off between us, and it honestly seems like the dynamic between us has shifted since I've become friends with your friends. And now Lisa interjects and brings it right back to herself and how she feels. So she says, I was having a conversation with Heather, and she was telling me her feelings because she was upset. So Bronwyn says, let me stop you right now, because I was super upset too. When she left my house, I was on the verge of tears. So she goes on to say, Lisa, this woman is calling me two-faced, conniving, saying that I'm nasty. That's not right. This woman is running around saying that I'm a horrible person, and you have yet to defend me. So now Bronwyn starts asking Lisa outright. She's like, Lisa, do you actually believe that I'm terrifying? And Lisa's like, no, I don't. You're not terrifying at all. So Bronwyn's like, do you think that I'm two-faced? And here it goes. Lisa can't even answer. She's stuttering and she's like, well, and Bronwyn's like, oh my gosh, Lisa, I can't believe this. You've clearly picked Heather's side because you're not on mine right now. And the fact that you can't just defend me is really crazy. And I said, now, Lisa, we know for a fact that if somebody sat there and let somebody badmouth you, you'd be livid. You'd be hollering and screaming about loyalty, and you can't believe that. You never do that to somebody. And the fact that you can't just acknowledge that you've dropped the ball as a friend is ridiculous. You want folks to be ride or die for you, but you're not the same for other people. That's not right that you can't call Heather out and say, hey, don't talk about my friend like that. I've known her for a long time. And that's not true. And then your confessional where you said, well, honestly, I feel like Bronwyn is two-faced sometimes. I said, really? Now, Lisa, you claim that you're so real. So if you feel like she is two-faced, then why not say that to her face? And I don't understand how Bronwyn is two-faced. Bronwyn has been very direct and very upfront about what she said about people. But this conversation is pretty much getting nowhere. They're going in circles with Lisa deflecting and not taking Bronwyn's side. And then she says, look, I feel bad that you were upset, okay? So Bronwyn says, well, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. So now Lisa continues on by trying to defend Heather even more. And Bronwyn says, stop it right now. Just end it on a high note. You're sorry that I'm upset. Let's leave it there. I said, please get her again. Lisa, I don't know what's going on. Did you and Heather make up some pact before filming? Because why are you going so hard for her? You couldn't stand Heather. And quiet as it's kept, you still don't see it for Heather. So I don't understand this newfound blind loyalty. It's weird. So now we see everybody take a group picture. And now Angie turns to Bronwyn and she's like, Bronwyn, how are we getting home? So Bronwyn says, oh, I booked everybody's flight. You're going to be sitting next to your husbands. So Angie goes over to, I think, Meredith and Lisa, and she says, oh, I'm 17C. Where are you guys sitting? So Lisa says, excuse me, 17C? I don't wear coach, and I don't fly coach. This is unacceptable. I'm Delta 1. At the very least, comfort. But I'm not sitting in coach. Like, I just don't do coach. I haven't flown coach since college. So Bronwyn's like, look, girl, it's a 65-minute flight. You're going to be okay. There were only 4 seats in first class. Like, it is what it is. Now, Bronwyn, I have to be honest. I do think it's a bit strange that you guys flew private and now you're flying back commercial. I feel like you guys should leave the same way that you guys came in, just in my opinion, because I assume that you guys would be flying private both ways, and you and Todd have the money, but that's neither here nor there. But anyhow, Lisa is still bitching about it. Her and John are looking at seats to see if they can change it. And John says, no, first class and comfort are all sold out. And Bronwyn's like, look, girl, I got the private plane for you. I rented this gorgeous house for you. I got you and your husband a gift. I'm so sorry that you have to fly coach coming back home. You need to stop. It's only a 47-minute flight. Like, you'll be okay. So we close out the episode with Lisa saying, well, It's not like Henry needs us back immediately because we can always fly somewhere else to fly first class. I said, Lisa, it should not be that deep. And I'm saying this as somebody who normally flies comfort or first class. I'm a Delta girl, okay? Delta all the way. But if the seats in comfort or first class are booked, it's not a problem if I have to fly main cabin. It's not the end of the world. For Lisa to throw this tantrum, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so obnoxious. And Lisa, for you to complain about how other folks view you as a parent and your parenting skills, I was shocked to hear you say, well, you know, Henry's fine. We don't have to get home so soon. We can fly somewhere else and we'll see him later, all because you don't want to fly economy. I'm like, oh my gosh, Lisa, I'm sorry, girl, but you can be very insufferable sometimes. It's not a good look. And it's such a short flight. You'll be okay. And I thought it was real nasty of you to shade Bronwyn's trip on the after show when you said, I mean, you know, I was kind of slumming it there because I've been to Palm Springs many times and I've stayed at better places. I said, really, Lisa? What a really horrible thing to say. That was a beautiful trip. I understand if you and Bronwyn aren't seeing eye to eye now, but don't sit up there and try to downplay her trip. That's like somebody putting you up at the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons and you're like, oh, well, you know, it wasn't that nice. Like, stop. It's a 5-star hotel, 5-star amenities. Don't lie. Lisa, the behavior this season, girl, you need to do better because this ain't it. And you bitching and moaning for 5 minutes straight over having to fly main cabin for a short flight is really crazy. I'm bougie too. I like the finer things too, but it's not life or death. You'll be okay. But y'all, that was the episode. That was my recap. And when I tell you guys, SLC is truly in their bag. They are giving what the other girls were supposed to have gave, in the words of the iconic Rolling Ray, chef's kiss. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. And you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.